Hi, today I'm planning to demonstrate Panorama device groups. Device groups are responsible for firewall objects and firewall policies in Panorama. So let me explain. Device groups. Device groups. So as I already explained, this is responsible for firewall rules and firewall objects. Firewall objects. The second fact that I want to explain you is using device groups you can group firewalls. Let's say your company is a group of companies, so you have hotels and hospitals. So let's say you have hotels, 10 hotels, and you have 10 hospitals. So in both hotels and hospitals you have deployed Paloalto firewalls. So normally, since those are two separate domains, hotel and hospitals, so you want to have separate set of policies. Let's say you are allowing a specific set of URLs in hospitals and hotels. So then you can group your firewalls into two device groups. One is hotel device group and second is hospital device group. So in that scenario you can push whatever the specific roles uh, related to that specific domain. So that means, let's say you can push common set of rules with regards to hotel area and another set of roles into hospitals. So that is the main idea behind device groups. So let me go to Panorama and explain you more. This is our Panorama installation, which is in US. So we have another 4 firewalls. This UK firewall, and this is Canada firewall, this is Australia firewall, and this is Japan firewall. So let me draw the company structure. So in order to create device groups, it's important that we have understanding about our company structure. So let me clear this. So here this is our company. Sorry, let me select the brush tool. This is our company. In our company we have two entities. The first one is hotels and we have hospitals. So all the firewalls in hotels and hospitals are managed by the group IT. So here let's say we have one firewall in let's say UK. We have one firewall in UK that is in a hotel, and also we have another firewall in Canada that is also in a hotel. Okay, and here we have another firewall in Australia that is in a hospital, another firewall in Japan that is also in a hospital. Okay, so in this scenario we can have two device groups. Let's say one device group is, this is the one device group, that is hotels, and second device group is hospitals. So using these two device groups we can easily manage our separate entities. So we can push a common set of policies into a relevant entity. Let me go back to Panorama. Here we have dashboard, ACC, monitor, network, device and Panorama tabs. So here network and device tab belong to templates. So in my previous demonstration I explained how to create templates and how to use templates in order to configure networking in manage firewalls. So you just check my template demonstration. In the demonstration I explain how to add manage firewalls into Panorama. Okay, so you just keep the number of tabs here in your mind, because I'm going to add a device group. So once I add added the device group, you just check the number of tabs here. So let me add the device group. Before that, let me check the diagram. Yeah, we have two device groups, hotels and hospitals. So let me add the hotel device group first. Hotels. Okay, so in hotels device group, here we have to add the managed devices into that specific device group. Here in our hotels device group, we are going to add UK and Canada because those two firewalls are in hotels. So UK and Canada. Okay, let me click OK. So here you can see we have another two tabs, that is policies and objects. So using device groups, we manage policies and objects. So now it's fine. So let me add second device group, that is our hospitals device group. Hospitals device group. So let me add Australia and Japan firewalls because those are in hospitals. Let me click OK. Okay, now we have yeah, but we have an issue because actually we added the wrong way. So let me delete this because this has been added as a sub device group. So just let me delete, and I just want to edit here because when you click this device group, and if I'm going to add a one, let's say for example, let's say some sample device group, let me click OK. See, that is belongs to hotels device group. So that means this device, this A device group belongs to hotels device group. So that is not the scenario that we are planning to create. So just remove that. So let me add the device group without checking this box. Just add this. That is hospitals. Okay, hospitals. So let me add Australia and Japan device group. Let me click OK. Okay, now both are in same level, hotels and hospitals device group. So let me commit this change into Panorama. Okay. Now let me go to the diagram. Here, let's say in our hotels, let's say here in our hotels we have a separate requirement, and in our hospitals we have a separate requirement. I mean, normally when it comes to different locations we have separate requirements, but in general we have a common requirement for hotels and hospitals. So that means let's say we have a common access, so that is we need to access DNS, Google DNS. So let's say that is we need to access let me change the color. Let me change the color because I need to explain you several role types, because when it comes to Paloalto standalone firewall, we have two role types, that is local firewall roles, and we have default roles, that is intrazone and interzone. So but here when it comes to Panorama, we have altogether 6 role types. So in order to explain you one role type, so I'm giving this example or the scenario. Let's say we have a Google DNS server that is 888. Okay, so this is a common scenario for both hotels and hospitals. So in that case, here we are going to use something called shared roles. Shared rules. Okay, we are going to use something called shared rules. But in this scenario, when it comes to shared rules also, we have two types. One thing is, don't worry if you are not going to understand here, but when I'm showing or demonstrating in the Panorama, you'll be able to understand this. So here we have one shared rule called pre-shared or pre-rules, that is a shared rule, pre. And also we have another one or the type called post. Okay, we have a rule type called shared, and in that rule type we have two types, that is pre and post, shared pre-rules and shared post rules. Okay, let me explain the shared pre-rules first, so don't worry about other type. So that means this rule type has the highest priority, because as I already told you that we have 6 types of rules, 6 types. out of these 6 types, the shared pre-roll has the highest priority. So what do you mean by priority? Priority means, let me go to this Paloalto, one of the Paloalto firewalls. Let me go to this firewall. It's been disconnected. So let me refresh and lock. So let me log into this one. Yeah, this is a firewall. So let me go to policies tab. So here, yeah, at this moment we don't have any policies, but the thing is, the priority means when those Panorama push policies are getting added to this firewall, so if the priority is high, those rules will be added into the top of this rule base. So that means, let's say we have for example, let's say we have this as I already said, that this shared pre-rules is the highest priority rule. So let's say this post rule, this has a lower priority than the pre-rules. This post rule has lower priority than the post rule, pre-rule. This post rule has a lower priority than pre-rule. So let's say if we are going to add both pre-rule and a post rule into this firewall through Panorama, so those rules will be added. The pre-rule will be added in top of the order or top of the list, and the post rule will be added in the bottom of the list. So that is the way, that is a priority. So let me explain using another MS Paint window. Let's say we are going to add, because we have another set of rules, but here since I have explained only this pre-roll, I'm going to take this post rule as a reference here, but that is not the correct reference. I'll let you know that later. So here, let's say we have two rules. One rule is this rule is a let's say this is a pre-roll which has been pushed through the Panorama into the firewall. So and we have another rule, that is post rule. That's a post rule, but both are shared. Okay, shared. So this pre-rule has the highest priority, so then this will be added into the top of the policy list here, but the post rule will be added after the pre-rule. So that means post rule has a lower priority than the pre-rule. So that is the priority. So you just understand that the priority means the order. So if the priority is higher, so it will be in the top of the order. If the priority is lower, so it will go down or go beyond that higher priority rule. So that is the order. The second fact about shared policies is as the name emphasizes, it is shared. So let me change the color. So here we have two entities in the company. That is, first thing is hotels. We have hotels, and also we have hospitals. So hospitals, okay. So actually we have created two device groups. One thing is hotel to represent hotels, and second device group is hospitals in order to represent hospitals. So here we have two files in hotels and two files in hospitals. So when you push a shared rule, so that is intended to push into both the device groups. So that means when you create a shared policy in the Panorama, so when you push that policy into devices, that policy will be available or will be applied to both device groups. So let me show it to you using Panorama. So let me go to Panorama. Here's our Panorama. So let me before that, let me explain that the previous scenario here. Okay, Here we talked about a scenario that we have a requirement in both hotels and hospitals, that is to allow hosts to use 888 Google DNS. So in that scenario we can use shared policies, since that is common to both hotels and hospitals. So that the best option would be to use that permission grant in a shared policy. So let me go to Panorama policies. Here before that, let me go to objects. So let me create that object, this Google DNS object. Here Google DNS, and let me check shared. So once you check shared, so that means that object is a shared object, so that means that can be used in both the device groups. Okay, then IP will be 8888. Okay, so let me click OK. So now we have created a shared object, so that can be used in both let's say in shared policies and as well as in hospitals and hotels. So let me go to policies, and I'm planning to add a shared policy here. So let's say Google DNS access. Okay, so let me click the source zone. So here you can see that we cannot have that drop down, the untrust and trust, because in previous demonstration we created templates and templates, and we push those into firewalls. So in these firewalls I'll show you that through the templates we push these these zones, untrust and trust, for all the firewalls and the IP addresses as well. So here, but since this is a shared policy, we cannot populate those zones. So what we have to do is we have to manually type those zones. Let's say untrust. That's fine. So then the destination would be the source should be trust, because this connection is initiated from the internal host to internet. Destination is Google DNS. So let me add untrust. Okay, so then the destination address would be that the address that we just created, Google DNS. So let me go to action. So it's allowed. Just click me. Let me click OK. Okay, now we have this shared policy. So let me go to the commit tab and commit to Panorama. So first I'm committing it to Panorama. So let's wait. Okay, our commit operation is almost completed. So this is just committed to Panorama only. So let me go to firewalls. You won't be able to see any policies there. So let me go to Panorama and let me push to devices. So here I'm pushing this shared policy into devices. So this means this policy will be pushed into all the firewalls, since this is a shared policy. So let me wait till the policy is completed. Both the device groups in active status in order to receive the push policy. So let's wait. So both the device groups have been received the policy. Let me go to firewall. So this is our UK firewall. Let me refresh. So you can see now we have that shared policy. So this is shared policy. Here Google DNS access, and we have all the details what we have pushed. So let me go to other files as well. So in Canada firewall also we have the policy. Let me go to Australia firewall. Here we have the policy. This is Japan firewall. Yeah, so we have the policy. So that means using a shared policy, we have pushed a common generic policy into all the firewalls. across the device groups. So that is our shared policy. So let me push a pause rule, shared pause rule, in order to give you the idea of priority, because I explained you that shared pre-rule has the highest priority and the shared pause rule has a lower priority than shared pre-rule. But once I explain all the rule, then I'll give you the overall picture about the priority of those 6 rule types. So in this scenario, I'm just pushing a pause rule. So let me take the scenario first. Let's say what would be the scenario here? Okay, here's the scenario can be, let's say we have another here we have only 2 device groups. Let's assume that we have another another, let's say 50 device groups. Let's say this is a global company and we have another 50, so altogether 50. Altogether we have 50 device groups. Okay, so then let's say we want to block YouTube in certain generally we need to block YouTube, but in certain device groups we need to allow it through Panorama. So through Panorama we need to block YouTube in all the 50 device groups, but let's say in few 1 or 2 device groups it should be allowed. So in that scenario, what we can do is we can just push a shared pause rule. We can push shared pause rule. Okay, shared pause rule. So when it comes to shared nature, so this will be pushed into all the 50 device groups. So let me explain this. So okay, here the first, let's push this shared pause rule, because first I need to explain you the priority, because previously I taught you that the shared pre-rules has higher priority than the shared pause rules. So let me go to the Panorama and push this policy first, so then I'll explain furthermore. So I'm adding a policy here. I had to go to pause rules. Shared, the device group context is shared and the rule type is pause rules. Let me add it, because here our scenario is we need to push this YouTube block rule into 50 device groups, but in certain device groups it should be allowed. So what we have to do is we can just push a generic policy and we can put exceptions for required device groups. So I'll let you know how to put exceptions. So let's say YouTube block, let me this should be trust, since we have already pushed a policy using these zones. Now you can find it here. So destination should be untrust and the application should be YouTube. YouTube. Okay, let me block YouTube. So okay, action should be deny. Let me click OK. Okay, so let me commit to Panorama first. Okay, another commit has been completed. So let me push this shared pause rule into devices. So this is a shared rule, so this will be pushed into all the device groups. So let me wait. The status is active. It'll take some time. Okay, so the once it is pushed, so that should be available in all the 4 firewalls. Since shared policies will be applied to across the all the device group. So now it's done. So let me go to UK firewall and refresh. Once I refresh, just check the priority. Before refreshing, let me go to the priority diagram. So here, see, the pre-roll has a higher priority than the post-roll. So let me show it to you in the firewall. So let me refresh. See, YouTube block. So this is the priority. The Google DNS access is a shared pre-roll, and the YouTube block is a shared post-roll. So the shared post-roll has a lower priority. So let me go to other files as well. So let me refresh. So here also you can see the policy. So let me go to Australian firewall. Here also you can see the policy. Let me go to that is Japanese firewall. So see, you have these two policies have been pushed. The first policy is in a shared pre-roll, and the second policy is a shared post-roll. So the shared pre-roll has a higher priority than the shared post-roll.
In our previous scenario, we use not device group, but shared post rule. Using shared post rule, we block YouTube as a whole. I mean, we use shared post rule in order to block YouTube for all the device groups, including hotels and hospitals. Now I'm going to use the next priority rule type, that is device group post rule. That device group post rule has higher priority than the shared post rule. So now using this, we can place exceptions for hotels, because we need to allow YouTube for only hotels. Let's say we have 100 at this moment we have a two device groups, but let's say we have 100 or 1000 device groups. So in such a scenario, we can just put a shared post rule to block something, and we can put a device group post rule to put exceptions for certain device groups. Let's say we blocking YouTube for all the device groups, and we putting exceptions for certain device groups to allow YouTube. So here I'm going to add a device group post rule for hotels. Hotels device group. This is hotels. I have already selected it. Now I'm clicking add. Let's enter the name of the role, YouTube. Allow for hotels, and then our source should be trust zone, and our destination should be untrust. Okay, and then our application should be YouTube. YouTube. Okay, so this is let me select the application YouTube. Okay, now the action should be allow. Okay, so now we have applied a rule, that is a device group post rule. Now let me commit this into the Panorama. Commit.
Okay, our commit operation has been completed. So let me push this into device groups. So let me push. So let's wait for the push operation. Now it is in active state. So let me wait. Yeah, okay, it's active. Still active. Yeah, it's completed. So let me go to UK. So before that, let me go to diagram. Here we have to check the firewalls because hotels. We have UK firewall and Canada firewall in hotels, and we have Australian and Japanese firewall in hospitals. So that means this rule should be applied to UK and Canada hotel firewalls. So let me go to UK and refresh. The rule should be there. Yeah, see, you can now you can see the YouTube allow hotels rule is there. It is before the YouTube block rule, so that means YouTube will be allowed here. So that is the scenario we used here. So let me go to Canadian firewall. It is also hotel, and the rule should be there. Yeah, rule is there, so that means allow YouTube will be allowed. So let me go to Australian firewall. Let me refresh. See, we can't see any YouTube allow role, and let me go to Japanese firewall as well, because Japanese firewall also a hospital firewall, so we don't have that rule. So in that scenario, the advantage of this pushing a shared, not shared, device group post rule, so to push an exception into certain device groups. Let's say we have 100 device groups, so then it is very easy for us to let's push a common policy. So let's say we are pushing common policy, that is YouTube block, but in certain cases we have to have exception. We need to allow YouTube through Panorama. So let's say hotels, we need to allow this YouTube. So then we can push a device group post rule. Since the device group post rule has a higher priority than a shared post rule, so that is the best option. Okay, so our next role type would be local firewall roles. So when it comes to this deployment, we can have local firewall roles. In each location, there can be, there can be local administrators. So let's say let's have a scenario. Here, let's say initially we pushed generic role. So that is to let me change the color here. That is to okay, let me have another MS Paint window. I think that is that would be clear. Okay, here let me explain the scenario. Here initially, so let me change the color. Initially, we push shared pre-roll. Okay, using this shared pre-roll, we push a generic rule that is allowing DNS for all the device groups. We just allow Google DNS for all the device groups. Let's say we have 50 device groups, and let's say in each device group we have 50 firewalls. So that means it's a huge amount of firewalls. So in that scenario, we configured a common policy that is a shared pre-rule, and since it is shared and pre-roll, so it has the highest priority. So that means in that scenario, I have to tell you one thing. Since the pre-roll, this shared pre-roll has the highest priority, this is the highest priority. Let me write that because it's important. This has highest priority. So in that scenario, no one can override, no one can put a block rule for the Google DNS using other rule types. The only option is to have a share. You have to have another shared pre-rule in order to override this rule. So that means you can put another shared pre-rule to otherwise you can just go to the shared pre-rule and you can change the action from allow to block. So that is the only way, by using another local firewall rule or shared post rule or device group post rule, or you can't block you can't override this rule. Okay, that is a shared pre-rule. The second rule, our second rule was shared post rule. Shared post rule, because I'm explaining the overall idea about these rules before going to the next type of other local file rules. So this rule has a lower priority than the shared pre-rule. So in that rule, we block YouTube. We blocked YouTube because since it's shared, so this rule has been applied to all the device groups and all the firewalls. Okay, so here let me try the DNS allow. Okay, so we had another requirement in order to allow YouTube for certain device groups. We had only one device group, that is hotels. So in that scenario, what we did was we just push a device group post rule. Since the device group post rule has a higher priority than the shared post rule, so then we can allow this what you call YouTube here. So we have pushed that YouTube allow using device group post role. Since the device group post role has the higher priority than the shared post role, so this shared post role, that is block YouTube, has been overridden. So in that scenario, in hotels, hotel firewalls, all the users can access YouTube due to this device group post role. So now I'm planning to explain you the local firewall rules. Okay, local firewall rules. So in that scenario, in this moment, I have only explained you only 3 types of rules, that is shared pre-roll, device group post rules, and shared post rules. In that scenario, our new rule type, that is local firewall rule, that will be placed here. Let me draw that. That will be placed here, our local firewall rule, according to the priority. But we have a few other more rules. So but at this moment, this local firewall rule will be placed in between shared pre-roll and the device group post roll. So here my scenario is, let's say since we have applied an exception to all the firewalls in the hotels device group, let's say for example, in actual scenario here we have only 2 hotels, but let's say we have 50 hotels in that device group and we have 50 firewalls. Let's say in a certain hotel, let's say out of 50 hotels, there are 3 hotels, they have a custom requirement to block YouTube because of certain conditions. So in that scenario, what they can do is they can place a local firewall rule to block YouTube. So once the local administrator applied the local firewall rule to block YouTube, that policy will be applied here in this section. So that means this device group post rule also will be overridden. So then in that specific hotels, the YouTube will be blocked. So I think you let me explain the scenario again. So initially what we did was, when it comes to YouTube, we pushed a shared post rule into all the device groups. Let's say we have 50 device groups. So in all the firewalls, the block YouTube has been applied. So then we have another requirement, that is we have hotels device groups. We had a requirement to allow YouTube for all the firewalls in that hotels device group. So then we pushed a device group post rule, that is to allow YouTube. So since the device group post rule has a higher priority than the shared post rule, so the YouTube had been allowed in the hotels device group. But now we have a requirement in hotels device groups. Let's say we have a 50 firewalls. We need to allow we need to block YouTube in certain firewalls. Let's say in UK firewall, we need to block YouTube. So in that scenario, we can ask local administrator to apply local firewall rule. That is not going to be pushed through the Panorama. That is a local firewall rule. So we can ask local administrator to apply a local firewall rule to block YouTube. Okay, so let me go to local firewall, blocking YouTube for a moment. I mean for few hours. Let's say they are going to firewall. This is local administrator, not the Panorama administrator. Okay, this is local administrator. I'm just going here and they are adding a local firewall rule, blocking YouTube, let's say temporarily temp. So the source zone should be trust, the session should be untrust, so the application should be YouTube. Sorry, YouTube. Okay, YouTube. Okay, so the action should be denied. Just apply. So once I apply the rule, you just check the location. So that is important. So let me go to the diagram first. See, this should be placed before the device group post rule. So that means this YouTube allow action for this device group should be overridden for this specific firewall in this specific hotel. So just click OK. See, YouTube allow for hotels, so that has been overridden by this local firewall rule. See, block YouTube. So then we can have a local commit here. So just commit. So that is the scenario. Here let me go back to the diagram. Here this local firewall rule has the higher priority than the device group post rules. Okay, let me go back to the firewall to check the commit operation status. Yeah, it has been completed, so it's fine now. Okay, so let me go to the diagram. I think yeah, our next rule type is device group pre-rule. Device group pre-rule. So let me get another color. So that is let me write here. That is device group pre-rule. Okay, the device group pre-rule should be placed here. That is in between shared pre-rules and local firewall rules. The device group pre-rule should be placed in between shared pre-rules and local firewall rules. So the location is this. So let's get a scenario. Let's say there's a requirement. So that is to block Gmail in certain device groups. So let's say in hospitals, when it comes to the patient's reports, those things should be a confidential document. So that should not be allowed to share it with the general public. So in that scenario, the hotel management or the company management decided to block Gmail, because if users can access Gmail, they just can attach the report and they can just send. So in that scenario, they have planned to block Gmail only in hospitals device group, and the requirement is, but the local administrators should not be able to allow it, or the override should not be able to override that rule. So in that scenario, they have Panorama administrator must push a rule which has the higher priority than the local firewall rule, because otherwise local administrator can override that rule. They can just put a rule and allow Gmail. So in that scenario, the best rule to be pushed is the device group pre-rule, since it is going to be placed before the local firewall rule. So that is our scenario. So let me go to Panorama. So here let me go to policies, and here I'm going to have a device group pre-rule in hospitals device group pre-rule in hospitals device group. So let me add block Gmail. Okay, source, that is trust, and destination is on trust, and here application is Gmail. Gmail application is Gmail. So let me go to actions tab and let me block it, deny it. Okay, so this is a device group pre-rule. So then this rule should be placed before the local firewall rules. So let me commit it to Panorama. Commit. The commit operation is being performed. Okay, it is almost done. Okay, done. So let me push it into hospitals device group. So let me go back to the diagram where in our hospitals we have Australian and Japan firewall. Okay, Australian and Japan firewall. So let's wait for the push operation. still active. It is being pushed. Yeah, it is completed. Okay, so let me go to diagram again. So here we have Australian and Japanese firewall in hospital. So let me go to Australian firewall first. Let me go to policies. Let's check. Yeah, we have this block Gmail rule here. So let's check our requirement here. So let's see that if a local administrator is trying to allow Gmail in order to send certain patients records to outside world. So let's say if he's trying to add a Gmail allow rule here, uh, allow Gmail. Okay, so the zone is trust and destination zone is untrust and the application is Gmail. He's just trying to override the rule to send certain confidential documents via email, Gmail. Okay, the action is allow. So let's check. See, the I mean putting a local firewall rule not make any sense, because the thing is that rule is placed before after the block Gmail rule from the Panorama. So that means the local firewall rule has been placed after the device group pre-rule. So that means that local administrator cannot allow Gmail by force. So since due to this block Gmail device group pre-rule, so that is the the central by using a device group pre-rolls you can do the central enforcement to Panorama. See, okay, so that is the device group pre-roll. Okay, so then we have already discussed about 5 role types, that is device group pre-roll, the first one is shared pre-roll, second one is device group pre-roll, third one is local firewall rule, fourth one is device group post rule, and the fifth one is shared post rule. The last rule type is let me get another color, let's say a different color, let's say let's say pink. Okay, I think that is not visible. Let me get purple. Okay, so here this is default rules. So default rule, let me go to Panorama in order to showcase default rules here. Sorry, let me go to Panorama. Here let's say if I'm going to shared roles and we have default roles, yeah, here we have default rules. So that means let's say if I'm using the device group that is shared, that is a common device group, not the device group, actually that's a parent. So if I'm going to use shared here and try to change configure default roles, I'll show you one example so then you can understand what is default role. So before okay, let me configure here. So let's say here you can see that let's say interzone. So let me open that role. So here you can see that logcat session end is not selected and logcat session start also not selected. Let me go to firewalls as well. So let me go to interzone default. Here you can see this is not selected, so that means you can't see any logs due to this log session option is missing. Okay, in this file also let me go to default roles. Yeah, here also it is not selected across all the firewalls, across the this device groups, it is not selected. So I just want to select it to logcat session end. So let's say if you are going to do it in the separate firewall, so let's say we have 100 firewalls, so that is a time consuming thing. So let me go to this shared default roles and select this, and let me override and go to actions. I'm just checking this box, locate session name. I'm just clicking OK, and I'm just commit to Panorama. Let's wait for the commit operation. The here main idea is to change certain configurations in the default roles using this Panorama. So then you can just just replicate that into all the device groups, or let's say certain device groups likewise. So that is fine. So let me push that into devices, push. So let's wait. Yeah, the push operation is in active state. We have to wait some time till the push operation is completed. Still active. It's completed. So let me go to firewalls and just refresh first, and just let me open this. See, you can see now the local session is now enabled. It is a UK file. Let me go to Canada firewall. Let me open that. Go to actions. So let me refresh first. Let me go to here. Also you can see local session name is selected. Let me go to these are the hotel firewalls, these hospital firewall. Let me refresh first, and let me open, and here also it is selected. And let me go to the last firewall, that is Japanese firewall, that is also in hospital. Let me open this and options. Yeah, it is also selected. That means you can just apply that in default rule, that is intrazone and interzone settings through the Panorama. Let's take another example here, or another scenario here. Let's say in our device groups, let's say in our hotels, the firewall uh, has some low capacity for the log storage. So in that scenario, let's say we just want to remove the logging option that we have configured. So let me go to the Panorama. So in order to disable that for hotels only, so let me go to policies and let me select the hotels device group and select default roles, and let me select interzone default, and let me override it. Okay, local session end. I'm just switching it off. Okay, I just have override it, but the thing is I just deselect because it is already selected, but I have to override it. So then after that I'm just try to commit it, commit to Panorama. Let me commit. This is for hotels only. The commit operation is being performed. It is almost done. So let me push this, push to devices. Let's wait for the push operation. Still 0%. So let's wait. It's it's completed. So let me go to hotel firewall, that is UK and Canada. So let me go to zone rule and action. See, now you can see the logcat session name is not there, so it has been overridden by that the device group specific rule. So let me go to Canada firewall as well. So let me refresh. Here you can see it is not selected. Let me go to Australian firewall because we haven't done any changes to hotels device group. In the zone actions, see, you can see that logcat session name is here. So let me go to Japanese firewall, that is also a hotel, not hotel, hospital one. So in that scenario also we'll be able to see that the tick mark, yeah, it's also there. Here in default roles, I have to explain you more because it is behave somewhat different than other types of roles. Actually I copied text from Paloalto official site. Let me paste it here. So let me get another MS Paint window because it's extremely important, because otherwise sometimes you make it confused. So because I'm telling that because when it comes to normal other shared pre rules and shared post rules and all, so in that context shared rules has the higher priority, and the device group has the lower priority, and the local firewall has the lowest priority. In that scenario, when it comes to pre rules, in post rules it's somewhat different. So I have already explained you all the rules and the priority and all. So let me explain this default rule more. So let me paste, let me get this text over here. So this is from a Paloalto official website. If you override default rules, their order of precedence, order of priority runs from the lowest context to highest. Okay, so just forget this. And then overridden settings at the firewall level takes precedence over settings at the device group level. So that means if you are going to override a setting at the firewall level, that has the highest priority. Okay, that has the highest priority. Overridden settings at the firewall level takes this one. Overridden settings at the firewall level takes precedence over setting at the device group level, which take precedence over settings at the shared level. So that means the firewall level overridden has highest level, higher priority, and then the second priority level is the device group level, and the third priority level is the shared level. So that means shared level has the lowest priority here. So that's why here when we configure logcat session n at shared level using a default policy, and that was applied to all the firewalls. So then after that we just deselect, we override the device group level, that is hospital device group. We override the default rule and we deselect the session at logcat session end. So then that was applied to hospitals device group, even though we have enabled logcat session end at shared level. So that means shared level has the lowest priority when it comes to default rules only, and the device group level has the second level priority, and the higher priority is the firewall level. So just keep that in mind. Sometimes you are not that much okay with this default rows. So let me explain it using Panorama and firewalls again. Let me go to Panorama. Let me go to policies and select the shared context. This is the default policy, and the interzone default has already configured. So let me go to interzone default and let me override. You just have to click override. So let me go to actions and logcat session name, that is checked now. Let me click OK. Since this change has been done in the shared context, this change should be applied to all the firewalls across the device groups. So let me commit it first. Let's wait for the commit operation to be done. 64% completed. Let's wait. it's almost completed. So let me go to push to devices. Before pushing that, let me go to one of the firewalls, let's say Canada firewall, and let me check this intrazone rule and actions. You can see that it is not selected. This locate session end. So let me go to Panorama again and let me push it again. Push it now. Let me push. So okay. So this will be applied to all the firewalls since this configuration was done in the shared context. So in this part, I'm trying to explain you the previous default rule section again, because sometimes it may be a confusing thing for you. Here what I'm going to explain you is the shared context has a lower priority when it comes to default rules. Lower priority, and the device group has the next level priority, and the highest priority is local firewall. So that means yeah, okay, we are okay with the configuration pushing. So let me go to Canadian firewall and refresh, and let me check intrazone actions. Let me refresh again intrazone actions. Yeah, now it's selected since we have pushed through the shared context. So the Canadian firewall was updated. So let me go to Panorama, and before that let me check the Canadian firewall device group, that is yeah, that is hotels. So let me go to hotels device group. Let me select that hotels. So I just want to show you that the hotels device group default rule has changes have the higher priority than the shared level changes. So let me go to intrazone rule and actions. Before that I had to override okay, actions, and let me keep it as deselected. Okay, let me click OK. So previously it was selected in the shared context, so because of that here in the firewall it is selected. Okay, let me refresh. Sorry, intrazone. Okay, action it is selected. Intrazone rule it is selected because of shared context default rule change. Now what we did was we just change it to deselected again in the device group level default rule. So let me come into Panorama first. So I just want to show you that this device group level default rule changes have the higher priority than the shared context default rule changes. Okay, so let me, I think it is almost completed. Okay, let me push it to devices, push, because if the share device group level default rule changes have the higher priority than the shared level default rule changes, so then once the push operation is done, so let's once we go to the firewall, we'll be able to see that the logat session end should be unselected or deselected in the intrazone default rule. So that's what we are trying to check here. Okay, it's completed. Let me go to Canada firewall and refresh, and let's go to intrazone default rule. See, it has been deselected. So that means the shared level default rule changes has a lower priority than the device group level default rule changes, because now device group level default rule changes have been applied to this firewall because it is not selected now. So let me go to the firewall, because according to the Paloalto official guide, it says that the local firewall default rule changes have the higher priority, the topmost priority. So let me go to intrazone default. So before that I had to override it. Let me select intrazone and override, and let me go to actions and let me select it again. So that means I'm doing the change through the local firewall. Let me click OK and commit. So that means let me complete the commit first. is almost completed. Let's wait. It's done. So let me go to the rule. Action C. Now it is selected. So that means when it comes to default rule priority, let me select the first tool here. When it comes to default role priority, so one moment. Okay, because my pen was disconnected from the machine. Yeah, this is default rules priority. Okay, the highest priority is local firewall. Local firewall changes as the higher priority, and the second level priority is the device group level changes, and the lowest priority is the shared level. Okay, so let me change the color. This is the priority direction. Sorry, this is the priority direction. So when it comes to default rules changes priority, the local file has the highest priority, the second level priority is the device group, and the last level priority is the shared. Okay. Okay, so let me wrap up the demonstration now. Before wrapping up, I think it's better if I can give you the overall picture about these Panorama device groups. So let me go to, because I have already prepared summary diagram. Here the topmost priority is the shared pre-roll, because shared pre-roll has the top priority. Second priority is device group pre-rolls, and third priority is, or the middle priority is local firewall roles, and the next one is device group post roles, and the last one is shared post roles. Okay, this is the priority. This is the priority level direction. So so let me give you the final idea. That is, when you are pushing let's say you have pushed a shared post role. So if someone is going to push a device group post role, so that will be placed before the shared post role. So that means the shared post role will be overridden. Okay, so if the local administrator is going to apply a local firewall role, that will be the top priority than the device group post role. So if the Panorama administrator is going to push a device group free role, so that is the second priority. And if the Panorama administrator is going to push a shared pre-roles, that is the top priority. So that is the priority direction and the priority levels of Panorama and the local firewall roles. It is extremely important. So the second thing is default roles, that is inter-zone default role and the intra-zone default role. So when it comes to that role type, so the top priority is local firewall default rule changes, because when you do a change to the default rule, because we can't create any default rules, only thing you can do is to change the existing settings. So that's why I mentioned local firewall default rule changes. The second priority is the device group default rule changes. Then last priority is the shared default rule changes. So that means let's say Panorama administrator, for example, let's say is going to change interzone action log at session end, interzone default rule log at session end. If he's going to tick that option, so that will be pushed to all the device groups. But if someone is change that into the deselected, or he's going to clear that tick mark at the log at session end in the device group level, so that will be applied to that device group only, but the previously applied shared default rule change, that is tick mark, will be removed, because the device group default rule has the higher priority than the shared default rule changes. So if that let's say in that device group the local firewall administrator is going to check the interzone default rule and he finds that the tick mark is not there because device group default rule push or the clear the tick mark. So then if he's going to put a tick mark there, so that will be the highest priority. So that is the effective change there. So that is the default rule priority and the priority direction. So I think you have gained clear and comprehensive idea about Panorama device groups. So let me pause the video here. So thank you for your time.